Before we get into today's analysis, it's important to put forward these warnings. First, the art we are discussing today is inherently sexually thematic. As such, anyone under the age of 18 must click away now. This analysis, and the piece it's covering, will still be here when you are old enough to responsibly handle and appreciate the content within. If you saw the video we're discussing today at too young an age, you might end up with some very unfortunate thoughts sticking in your head. It's a good thing that didn't happen to anyone. Secondly, as influential as this masterpiece is, it does carry the aesthetics of transphobia, racism, sexism, ableism, and sexual assault. And as such, anyone likely to be triggered by such topics should turn away now, although this reading will be focused on the, shall we say, material realities of the piece. On the 18th of May 2011, civil rights hero This Project Has Been Retired released the song Transphobic Techno, otherwise known as Bitch Got a Penis. This piece of art, single-handedly led to trans acceptance as we know it today. Its expert satire, its, if you'll excuse my double entendre, dressing down of fragile masculinity and the inherent contradiction of transphobia and sexism, spread far and wide thanks to its liberal use of sex appeal and the popularity and online ubiquity of This Project Has Been Retired's frontman. This song and its resulting wave of trans acceptance is what allowed me to come out to not only myself, but my loved ones, and I'm not the only one. But I'll stop wasting your time. We all know the story of transphobic techno Bitch Got a Penis. We all know the utopia it paved the way for. I'm not here for a history lesson. I'm just here to throw my 2 cents into the ring and give my reading on this historical, timeless piece of our culture. The music video, film, opens with our villain protagonist, our microcosm of fragile and toxic masculinity in the asylum. What brought him here, we're bound to ask. He is quick to answer.
Bitch got a penis.
What? He repeats many times to hammer it home.
Bitch got a penis. Bitch got a penis.
The event that shocked this man to his core, to the point that he was admitted to the psych ward, was the sheer mundanity of seeing a woman with unconventional genitals. As he rambles and rocks himself back and forth to comfort himself in response to his trauma, the camera invites us into his head, where we are made privy to the events that brought him to this cell. He was at the bar of a club, treating himself to some hard alcohol that he, based on his reaction, is not quite used to. This is a common trait in men who feel the need to prove their masculinity, forcing themselves to meet the aesthetics of acceptable male behavior, such as drinking straight whiskey, even if it makes them, personally, unhappy. He spots a beautiful woman and follows her to the dance floor to make his move. They complement each other perfectly, mirroring each other's moves to a T. They also have a similar retro sense of style, dressing in a way that would make them blend in with the crowd of any 70s discotheque. They both feel the spark, and, looking into each other's eyes, they know they won't be able to wait to go to one of the other's homes. Thus, we smash cut to the bathroom, with the two of them undressing each other, equal in passion and excitement. This pairing was meant to be. That is, until the man's world is shattered. That bitch, as he has been so crudely calling her, removes her skirt to reveal, what else but a bulge in her panties. A penis. She is trans. She had erroneously been assigned male at birth. The man, however, still perceives her this way, simply due to her having a vestigial organ from her time of being seen as a man by society. His shock snaps us back to his current predicament as the memory proves too painful to continue, instead seeing him panicking on the floor of his cell. 3 nurses, one looking very familiar, enter his room to investigate the commotion. They try to talk him down from his episode, asking for more details. All he can do in this state, though, is to repeat the phrase, "Bitch got a penis." As the interrogation continues, he points at all 3 of the nurses, accusing them of being trans as well, not only the one who bears some resemblance to the woman from the club. Right as we begin to process and question this new information, we return to the flashback for more. At another point in the past, the man visited a hotel to rest. Inside his room, he found a woman from room service finishing up remaking the bed. On her way out, he sexually harasses her, grabbing her by the hand and staring at her with clear intent. Thankfully for all parties involved, including us, the woman consents to his uncouth advances, and she proceeds to do a striptease for him as foreplay before they get going. The man, once again, is clearly into it, as is the woman. But once again, to his horror, she too removes her skirt to reveal a clear bulge in her thong. He screams once more, shutting out the memory and returning us to the present. Panicking and triggering the alarm yet again, the nurses return, now 2 of them being recognizable faces. This time, they drag him to a chamber and interrogate him far more forcefully, his transphobic accusations seemingly grinding down their professionalism. They use an anesthetic to calm him down, returning us once more to his memories, but not before a very telling dream. We see the man as a baby, with the background vocals being sung by 3 sperm cells with the heads of the women upon them. We see the man grow from infant to adult, being followed each time by the trans sperm cells. There's many interpretations for this scene, each more interesting than the last, and media scholars often get into heated debates over this sequence. Is this the man's subconscious telling him that these women too are people just like him? Or is it him feeling like, no matter how much time passes, he will still be tormented by the fear of trans women? Perhaps he is questioning if being trans is a genetic thing, that they were trans from the time they were sperm, and thus he deep down knows his judgment is even more unfair and invalid than it already would be when that isn't the case. Or perhaps, just maybe, it is the man feeling the birth of a trans woman in himself. A crack in his eggshell, so to speak. He fears them for what they say about what he himself could be. After all, he suffers for his masculinity, as seen by his reaction to the drink and the trauma his intersectional bigotries have caused him. What if they're right and he is wrong? What if he is running because he wishes that the bitch with the penis was himself? This is my personal favorite interpretation of this hallucination sequence. As the immediate delirium from the drugs wears off, we follow him back into his memories. Driving on the highway late one night, he was accosted by a police officer, bearing a marked resemblance to the only as of yet unidentified nurse. We do not know why she pulled him over, but my guess would be because he was, for some reason, driving in the middle of the road. Now, due to the fact this shot composition is so common in media, it is easy to write it off as a coincidence, but I believe that would be selling the director short. Leapfrogging from the theories posed regarding the hallucination, perhaps he is walking the line, or on the fence, regarding his views. He is considering a change in perspective. Or perhaps the straight line on the road represents his straight sexuality, and the bepenised policewoman behind him is, in his warped perspective, making him deviate from that straightness to pull off the road. Perhaps he is viewing his life as a straight shot, and the possibility of becoming an ally of trans issues, let alone transitioning himself, is a terrifying change akin to being run off the road. We could posit theories all day with all the meat on these bones, so let's save time and move on. This scene mirrors his pseudo-assault on the housekeeper, with some key differences. Whereas in the previous scene he made an inappropriate advance on a woman which she gladly accepted, here he is put, seemingly unwillingly, into the submissive role for this officer. And yet, what is that face before the whence? A smile. Despite his justified protests, part of him is enjoying this taste of the other side. And it quickly becomes clear that he truly is enjoying this taste of submission, because the moment this woman too reveals her bulge, he takes the entire fence with him to get away. He was never bound there, having had the strength to flee at any moment. Now, of course, no art is flawless, and this scene's implicit agreement with various justifications put forward by our rape culture are certainly valid to criticize, but they have been discussed plenty by people far more knowledgeable than I. As he flees, the camera cuts back to the officer as she reaches into her panties to reveal that it was not a penis whatsoever, but a cell phone. The same goes for the maid who had keys, and the club girl who had cigarettes. While his fright regarding them was unjustified to begin with, it is even more so with this reveal. Just as he had been doing in the hospital, he jumped at any opportunity to validate his biases, jump at shadows, and flee from any reminder that trans women exist. His fear makes even less sense when you consider he clearly doesn't actually see the women as men. No matter how distressed he gets when he's panicking and down to his basest instincts, he still never misgenders them. They are women, well, bitches in his misogynistic parlance, but women nonetheless. So if he doesn't see them as men, why is he panicking? Is he just not into penis? That shouldn't be a problem. These women were all already taking the submissive position during these encounters, with the exception of the cop, but she seemed to be looking to bottom for him regardless. It's unlikely they would expect any stimulation to that region, and if they did, a simple no from him would suffice. That clearly isn't the problem, especially considering how, and excuse my crudeness, but there's no other way to put it, anal is typically a goal among these sorts of hyper-masculine men our protagonist is trying to behave as. So if he doesn't actually see them as men, he wouldn't have to touch a penis, and he'd get to engage in anal congress. Well, I leave you to the one remaining conclusion this leaves regarding his potential motivations for panic. The video closes as he enters the lobby of the building he's been locked in during the present sequences throughout the video, met by the nurses who look identical to the women he fled from. He is checking himself into presumably a psych ward in order to escape from what he's going through, only to be unexpectedly imprisoned by memories of it until he learns to calm down and think rationally. I wonder what that could represent. Hey, thanks for watching that all the way through to the end. Sorry for the shorter and weirder video than usual. I'm working on a few other normal videos, but I wanted to do an April Fool's video, and I thought that a still interesting but very clearly bad faith interpretation of objectively bad media would be something fun to try and do. Like, just try and analyze absolute garbage through a leftist lens. I thought it might be fun. And it was. I had a lot of fun making it, and I hope you had fun watching it. If you did enjoy it, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe if you feel I earned that from you. I also have a stream channel, a Let's Play channel, and a miscellany channel. They are linked in the description. I also have my donation links down there, a Ko-fi and a Patreon. And speaking of the Patreon, I'd like to give a shout out to my one and only patron, Charlie Long. Thanks for sticking with me this far. Thank you all for watching, and have a good day.